next 2 days, we will explore how responsible innovation, ethical AI, and cross-sector partnerships can translate research into measurable real-world impact. On behalf of Jane Dean of University, Center for Management Studies, I, Maxwell Kingston, and Ms. Danya Atul Sage, your MCs for the day, extend a heartfelt welcome to each one of you to the International Conference on Sustainable Innovation in Business, integrating academia, industry, and AI for future resilience. To begin this conference on an auspicious and reflective note, it is important that we align ourselves with wisdom, humility, and purpose. As we embark upon this shared academic journey, let us pause for a moment to seek divine blessings for clarity of thought, openness of mind, and harmony in dialogue. I now invite Team Indie Blues to lead us in prayer. May I kindly request the audience to rise? We also request you to refrain from applause after the prayer to preserve the sanctity of the moment.
Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Tanno Vikrasham Varunah Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Brahaspati Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vajishami Yudham Vadashami Satyam Vadashami Tanmamatu Tadvaktaramatu Bhavatu Mam Bhavatu Vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Team Indie Blues, for that serene beginning. We now move on to a tradition that holds profound significance, the lighting of the ceremonial lamp. This sacred act symbolizes the triumph of knowledge over ignorance, of hope over uncertainty, and wisdom over doubt. It reflects the spirit of this very conference to illuminate pathways towards sustainable and resilient futures. May I now invite our esteemed dignitaries to please join us in the lighting of the lamp.
Abre uma delas. Abre uma delas. Obrigado.
Thank you, dignitaries, for that illuminating start of our event. As the glow of the lamp shines before us, It is only fitting to celebrate the institution that has consistently illuminated paths of knowledge, innovation, and excellence through its remarkable achievements and visionary leadership. It is with immense pride that we present Jain deemed to be University, a proud symbol of excellence dedicated to fostering human development through quality education, research, entrepreneurship, and sports. Ranked among the top universities of India, Jain University is known for its ever-evolving, open-minded approach and its relentless pursuit of success and resilience. Over the years, we have built on our strengths and celebrated our achievements through conscious and meaningful growth. Jain, deemed to be university, stands as a beacon of excellence in education, consistently achieving remarkable milestones since its inception. Committed to delivering world-class education and fostering an entrepreneurial spirit. The university nurtures talent within a culturally vibrant campus that blends academic traditions with contemporary relevance, earning recognitions from leading organizations worldwide. The university holds the 62nd rank in the NIRF 2025 Ministry of Education Government of India and has been awarded an impressive A++ grade with a CGPA of 3.71 by NAC. Jain deemed to be university is also a distinguished member of the Association of Universities of Asia and the Pacific and has been ranked as the top 8th private university in India by India Today 2025. In sports and culture, Jain University has made a significant mark by hosting Keynote India 2021 and by emerging as the overall champion. We also hosted the AIU Cultural Fest Jain Icsib in 2023. In by the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports under the category Identification and Nurturing of Budding Young Talent. Adding to our accolades, the university was named University of the Year 2024 by the Services Export Promotion Council, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, and recognized as a winner at the LinkedIn Learners Connect 2024 for having the maximum number of LinkedIn learners. We are additionally proud to announce that Jain deemed to be university has been recognized as the best university for promoting sports by FICCI Turf 2025. Together, these accomplishments reflect the university's unwavering dedication to innovation, integrity, and transformative growth.
Building on this legacy of excellence, Center for Management Studies embodies Jain University's vision of shaping innovative and future-ready business leaders. As an integral part of the university, CMS is dedicated to nurturing future business leaders and aspiring media professionals with a strong global outlook and a deep sense of professional responsibility. According to the India Today Best College Survey 2025, CMS secured the 9th rank for BBA programs in India overall and achieved the 3rd position in academic excellence. Further strengthening its academic standing, CMS has also secured the 73rd rank in the National Institutional Ranking Framework, NIRF 2025, by the Ministry of Education, Government of India. The Faculty of Management Studies has been granted accreditation by the National Board of Accreditation, NBA, for a period of 3 years in 2025. Its commitment to quality and continuous improvement is further reflected in achieving the ISO 21001-2018 certification by TUV India Private Limited 2025 for educational standards and management systems. These accomplishments underscore the institution's steadfast dedication to academic distinction, industry integration, and its pivotal role in shaping the leaders of tomorrow. A great leader is defined not only by their achievements, but by the enduring impact they create and the vision they inspire in others. We are privileged to be guided by a distinguished academician and innovation driven strategist who has played an instrumental role in shaping the holistic growth of Jane Dean University and Center for Management Studies. With over 25 years of experience in higher education, Sir has been pivotal in redefining institutional excellence through decisive leadership, strategic foresight, and transformative initiatives. His unwavering dedication to nurturing young minds and fostering academic innovation continues to steer the university toward new horizons. To us, he is not only an accomplished leader, but also a pillar of strength and a person of integrity and vision. It is my honor to invite the Pro Vice Chancellor of Jane Dean University and our beloved Director for CMS, Dr. Dinesh Neelkant, to kindly address the gathering.
Thank you very much for that introduction. And so good morning, one and all, respected Archana Rai, Madam, Navin Kashyap, HODs, faculty members, participants, students. So on behalf of Jain University, Center for Management Studies, I welcome all of you to this international conference on sustainability and artificial intelligence. First of all, I want to appreciate the efforts of the entire organizing committee for putting such a wonderful event. Not easy to get so many papers, and interestingly, there was a lot of students' participation into it. So that was very nice, and we appreciate that. In this volatile world, if at all, if we talk about business, the two words sustainability and artificial intelligence are not optional strategies, but they are the drivers to see that the businesses are going to be run in today's economy. Future belongs to those organizations which are digitally intelligent, who are environmentally conscious, who understand sustainability, who understand operational strategies, who are tech-based, who are futuristic, and who are away from politics. So coming back to the point is that when we are talking about these things into this, the one thing which came to my mind was that how are today's businesses? The customer is going to buy what customer needs, but if at all, if a business has to be successful, a businessman has to visualize what the customer wants well in advance. And on the basis of that, if he is going to do that business, that becomes Ola Uber, that becomes Swiggy Zomato. If we are going to wait for the customer to tell us that what he wants, I think you will be late. So it is always better that you visualize what the customer wants. So if you ask me today what a student wants, I'll give you one situation. In your house, there will be one Choto who is in first standard or maybe second standard or whatever. Imagine that he becomes a graduate. At that time, what will be the college? There will be no college only. So what it will be? Can you visualize? Give a question for yourself and understand that what education will be that time. Education will be ROI based. Education will be skill based. Education will be that if I'm going to do this, what I'm going to learn and how much money I'm going to make and how environmentally conscious I'm going to become from the sustainability point of view. So all this is to be thought. So you have to do business which are going to be purposeful, not only with profit margins. This is what it is very important. And when it comes to, I'll use a little bit of Hindi if you agree. So AI दिमाग देगा, सस्टेनेबिलिटी इंसानियत सिखाएगा और दोनों मिलके बिजनेस बचाएंगे, तभी जाके बिजनेस होगा. If you only do business and you say that I'm not going to look after all this, all of a sudden it will come in and tell you that you have to look into all this. And that is how businesses will grow. Anyway, I think so I've spoken enough, and in this conference, we'll be learning a lot on how we can do businesses with all this and how this becomes the future direction. So thank you very much for calling me. So best of luck to all the participants.
Thank you, sir, for those inspiring words. You gave us the perfect triangulation of all the words you see on the screen. We have innovation, we have sustainability, and not just in business, sir also spoke of academia. And that encapsulates why we are here, the vision for which all of us have gathered here today. Thank you once again, sir. Truly, your vision for excellence sets a powerful tone for the event. Now, with our dedication in mind, we officially turn our attention to the conference itself. I am pleased to invite Dr. Shakti Kamal Nathan Sambashivam, Assistant Professor, and the conference convener to deliver the opening remarks.
Thank you, ma'am. Respected Dinesh sir, chief guests, my dear colleagues, participants from inside and out stations, research scholars, I welcome you all. Every idea we create today becomes a world someone else must live in tomorrow. We are not merely researchers, engineers, or professionals gathering at yet another conference. We stand at a unique inflection point in history where the tools we build, the policies we shape, and the systems we deploy will ripple across generations. We are architects of the future, and with that role comes an extraordinary weight. The obligation to design, not just for efficiency or profit, but for the dignity and well-being of those who will inherit what we leave behind. Sustainability is not a choice anymore. It has become a necessity. Artificial intelligence is no more an experiment. It has become a reality. Ethics is not an afterthought. It is the foundation. Without ethical guardrails, innovation becomes reckless. We must now concentrate more on circular economy models that eliminate waste and carbon-conscious supply chain. We must build systems that are transparent, fair, and human-centered. Let us build a future where intelligence is guided by conscience, innovation is anchored in ethics, and progress is measured not only by what we create, but what we become in future. The future is not something what happens to us, it is something we build together starting now. With that team said, we have witnessed an overwhelming response of nearly 300 registrations, and we have collaborated with Stellar and Francis, and the good quality papers, about 80 of it are going to be published in Scopus and indexed in Scopus. And we have received numerous number of papers from UAE, Kenya, Nigeria, and so on. We have set a benchmark that shows more and more minds are moving together towards sustainability. So with that theme set, we are expecting more number of innovations, researchers. Everything is discussed in today afternoon presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for giving us a bird's eye view of the conference itself. I take a minute to welcome our Vice Chancellor in charge and Registrar, Dr. Jitendra Kumar Mishra. Additionally, I also take immense honor in introducing sir. Dr. Jitendra Kumar Mishra, our esteemed Vice Chancellor in charge and Registrar, is a distinguished educational leader dedicated to shaping dynamic institutional ecosystems that consistently enhance teaching, learning, and research. With extensive experience as both a dean and a director at leading institutions, Sir has been instrumental in driving significant advancements. He has successfully implemented and refined methodologies for outcome-based education, accreditation, and ranking, consistently raising institutional standards and fostering substantial growth. Beyond Sir's institutional responsibilities, Dr. Mishra is an active and influential contributor at various national academic policies through various professional bodies, notably Sir has served on the executive board of the Association of Indian Management Schools since 2016, including a tenure as the regional vice president for the southern regions for the years 2018 to 2019. Sir also served as the National Secretary of the Center for Education, Growth and Research from the years 2021 to 22. His expertise was officially recognized when he was nominated by the chairman of the University Grants Commission as an expert for drafting the crucial learning outcome-based education curriculum framework for the undergraduate management programs. Sir's visionary leadership, combined with his hands-on approach, has transformed educational institutions into true centers of excellence, empowering faculty, staff, students to excel in an environment of innovation and achievement. It is with immense pleasure and honor that we invite Dr. Jitendra Kumar Mishra to share his invaluable insights and address the conference.
Thank you for such a long and elaborate introduction. Good morning, everybody. Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Chainraj Roychandji in absentia. Our esteemed Pro-Vice Chancellor, Dr. Dinesh Neelkant. Our esteemed guests, Madam Archana Rai and Naveen Kashyapji. All the distinguished delegates, participants, contributors, faculty colleagues, and my dear students, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a great pleasure to be with you this morning. I'm sorry for being late for a while, but we know this Bangalore traffic is something that you can't compete with, despite all your best effort. But that's not an excuse. We have to make the things as per the commitment. Let me first compliment the organizing committee and the entire team for choosing a very apt theme, which is well in time and most pertinent, and that is sustainable innovation in business, integrating academia, industry, and AI for future resilience. The most important aspects, the most important element in this theme that make me really very impressed and happy about is the integrating aspect. If you look around today, we are living in a very different world. On one hand, you have got the best of the things that you can imagine. The entire world is in your palm. Anything you want to access, it is completely possible without lag of any time and any great effort. What you want to know, what you want to do, everything is absolutely flawless. And that's the ease of life, if you see. Reaching anybody, connecting anybody, getting any information, doing any part, any aspect of the business or any work is absolutely in full control. But on the other hand, if you look around, life is more fearful, in fact, most fearful than ever. And what is that fear? Next moment, glaciers are melting, sea levels are rising, climate change is a menace, everybody is scared. We all have seen the Chennai rains few years back, and this is order of the day. In one or other part of the world, we are seeing it on every day, and we are completely helpless. So we are operating in two extremes. This is a dichotomy. On one hand, we celebrate the success, we celebrate the development. We believe that we have got great control on almost everything. Even if you talk of diseases and all, we have gradually been overcoming the challenges, and we are able to get the medicines, vaccine, surgery, everything is on its best, if you imagine. But on the other hand, we are equally or even more fearful. And that's raised the question, what's wrong? What's wrong? Why this success is not complete? Why this success is not secure? Why this life is so challenged while everything is there? And that's where the world integrating become very, very important. And that's what I think is the need of the hour, to look at everything holistically. We have seen that if you see, we are living in an era which is saved by artificial intelligence, and it is part of our theme, data analytics, blockchain, green energy transition, climate resilience framework, and platform economics. Yet alongside these advancements, we face rising inequalities, ecological stress, resource depletion, and societal fragmentation. The question before us is no longer whether technology will shape the future, but how responsibly, inclusively, and sustainably. That's the agenda, and that's the question. That is where we have to look at the transformation going forward. If you see historically, technology, business, and sustainability were viewed as separate domains, and that's where we did the damage. When we talk of development, we exploited resources madly. In the name of competition, we did not follow any boundary. We only aimed at optimizing profit without bothering for the cost. And that competition, which has led to great efficiency optimization, has brought the biggest challenge where we have damaged a lot of things as a collateral. And that's require that integrative thinking and collective effort. You see, technology was about innovation and efficiency. Business was about profitability and scale. Sustainability was about environmental and social responsibility. But the 21st century, these silos has to be dissolved if we want to sustain and have a secure future. Technology without sustainability risks ecological collapse. That's where we have seen when we started 18th century, the steam engine by James Watt, and it created the carbon footprints. We never bothered what we are doing. And when we moved to the fuel, the fossil fuel, we still did not realize until we have reached to a point when we are talking of zero carbon. Business without ethics loses legitimacy. We have seen Lehman Brothers collapse, which question our entire thought process, the value of our academics and the models of business, where the best of the businesses collapse like it has been built on no strength. It collapsed just like that. So when we are talking of business, it cannot be profit alone. It has to trade off very judiciously between all the three elements. That is what we call bottom 3P, and that is planet, people, and profit. Profit without having concern for planet security and people well-being is of very little significance, and it is very dangerous. The future belongs to integrated thinking. That's what we are very happy, and we admire the entire thinking of the organizing committee to bring it here, because that's what is required. We need to replace competition by co-option, or more ideally, the collaboration. If not collaboration, at least co-option. Co-option means collaboration and competition together. It is not competing mindlessly to defeat somebody, but it is competing to optimize the resources with very well thought and calculated outcomes. Artificial intelligence must optimize not only profits, but also resource efficiency. The fintech must enable financial inclusion. We cannot have a divided and fragmented society. That's going to be another problem. And we are seeing that where societies are fragmented, where the economic distance, economic inequality is high, it has created challenges of various kinds. Smart manufacturing must reduce carbon footprints. Digital transformation must empower communities, not displace them. We are looking at artificial intelligence and we are scared about employment. I think it has to be seen, and there has to be proper way forward where the technology should create opportunity, or at least it should not create a fear where we start trading off what and how. But we should have a clear clarity and confidence to adopt it. The global agenda articulated through the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals reminds us that innovation must serve humanity and the planet. That is what we call bottom P, 3P. We are witnessing the rise of the fourth industrial revolution, from AI-driven decision systems to Internet of Things, enabled smart cities, from precision agriculture to renewable energy storage. Technology is redefining business models and value chains. Consider the transformative impact of artificial intelligence in healthcare diagnosis. We have seen that from your heart attack to your diabetes or cancer, with a small chip put in your body, it can capture all the changes in the body health parameters and give direct signals, and it has become quite controlled. But we cannot guarantee the life. We can have the control of all these symptoms and align the treatment, but life remains same risky. Blockchain in supply chain transparency. You can trace your consignment anywhere, anytime. It is at no risk. Data analytics in climate modeling, green hydrogen and renewable energy transitions. India, under initiatives such as Digital India and Startup India, is positioned itself as a global innovation hub. Our startup ecosystem is now among the largest in the world. We stand at the third number, both in terms of the startup ecosystem and the unicorn numbers. Yet, true measure of technological success lies not only in unicorn valuation, but in sustainable and societal impact. The next generation of innovation must be climate conscious, inclusive, and ethically grounded. We are seeing this consciousness is increasing, but this dichotomy continues. We have seen that India has made a great promise to meet zero carbon by 2030, and we have already made a great success so far as our targets has been concerned. India is leading the solar movement, solar energy movement on renewable energy movement. India has committed for climate change dialogue. At the same time, you see the countries where the beacon of all these global sustainability, like US, are withdrawing from it. So we are getting into different challenges. While the consciousness is increasing on one part, the resource commitment from the other part is going away. And this kind of divide, you see, we are not able to arrive at a consensus, which is a major concern. So if you try to put entire thing on a dashboard and you try to look at how to understand it, you can see that the risk is evident. There is no doubt that what is the challenge and where the risk is. But if you look at the commitment and resource alignment, the ambition and the intention of technological innovation, there are divides. And therefore, the conferences like such should try to have a much deeper dialogue, much data-based evidence to suggest the right way to bridge this gap, where we can try to see that within the constraints of limited resource constraint and divided opinion, how can technology play a navigator role and bring the things to a terms where without having any discrimination, we can ensure that the future for our coming generation, future for our next generation is secure, and we build the world for better living, not for a challenge living. I am very happy that this conference has been convened. I was listening to the secretary, and we have got 300 plus papers that again reinforce that the theme is very pertinent, and perhaps larger number of people are looking at it and they value this discussion. This is the time when we can use this opportunity for fostering innovation, for collaboration to find solutions. And when we conclude the conference, we should have some points where we can try to work further and suggest the direction for the future research. I wish you all very happy and very enriching discussion over the course of conference and beyond. Let us take it as a priority and work together to contribute our bit. We know the problem is very big, but it has to start somewhere to address it. We are the one as an academics where we can make the beginning. And we do have influence because we are the catalyst. Let us play our role and see that we contribute to a better world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for setting the tone for this conference with your insightful and inspiring words. Your remarks have truly laid a solid foundation for the meaningful discussions that lie ahead. Carrying forward the spirit of insight and purposeful dialogue, we now arrive at a defining moment in our inaugural ceremony. It is an extraordinary pleasure and a distinct privilege to welcome our esteemed chief guest, Ms. Archana Rai. A celebrated and influential business journalist, Ms. Rai's distinguished career spans over 3 remarkable decades, offering unparalleled insight into India's economic and technological transformation. For years, she has had a front row perspective on the dynamic evolution of India's startup and technology ecosystem. Her reporting has thoughtfully traced its journey from its early entrepreneurial beginnings to the landmark deals that propelled the rise of internet era giants. Her profound insights are further sharpened during her tenure as head of Southern Bureau of the Economic Times, India's leading financial daily, where she also spearheaded its dedicated startup vertical. Her distinguished work includes contribution to other premier publications such as Mint, the Outlook Group, and Business India. This deep commitment to documenting India's entrepreneurial narrative culminated in her critically acclaimed debut book, The Unicorn Quest, published in November 2023 by Bloomsbury India, a definitive exploration of the country's startup revolution. Beyond her journalistic excellence, Ms. Rai brings a keen and forward-looking interest in digital and cultural anthropology, uniquely positioning her to analyze a world increasingly shaped by artificial intelligence. With immense honor and anticipation, we now invite Ms. Archana Rai to deliver her inaugural address and set an inspiring tone for the conference. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that very warm introduction. To attempt to address on a matter as weighty as artificial intelligence in these times is definitely, shall we say, it requires one to first submit oneself to a test. And I guess everyone here will know what that is. And before we actually get to that point, I thought I should sort of spend a moment to just say that I'm truly honored as a journalist to be amidst academicians, of the stature of Professor Mishra, Professor Neelkant, Mr. Kashyap, and all the attendees and the delegates for this conference. As a journalist, I bring what can be called the understanding of practice, not so much of theory, to a topic as weighty as artificial intelligence. So I thought, when I begin to talk about this subject, I should, as I said, submit myself to the Turing test to say, are the words that I'm going to come up with, are they mine or are they from a bot? So while I leave you to be the judge of that, I think I should just wade into the topic, the question that most of the world is currently transfixed by. I think it is something that we all, I know we're talking about sustainable innovation in business and how we can integrate different aspects or different parts of society to, contribute to what is clearly the most influential aspect of life today. But before we get into this, I just wanted to ask, I think the question to my mind is quite straightforward. I think that's what we're all grappling with. Will AI usher in a beneficial change, or will it upend humanity's long-fought gains? I think that is the point at which all of us are here, which is why I said I submit myself to the Turing test and ask, are these my words or is a bot coming up with this? And when I thought about this, and so thank you very much for having me here. I'll try and give you an outside-in perspective on how we look at this change that we're all living through. And before I began to put together some amount of thought on this, I was thinking, so how do you get a perspective on this question? Like, are we at a point where we are going to lose long fought for gains that humanity has experienced? Or will this be sort of a force propeller for good? So I thought some perspective was important. And I thought back to what could have been the most adjacent technological breakthrough that we've witnessed in the post-World War II era, which is, I think, arguably, we could all agree, has been the era, the last 150 years, which has given us, sort of material, scientific, and technical progress such that humanity hasn't really experienced in the past. So, to my mind, the most adjacent technology, the most influential technology in that period that we would have experienced would have been space. And very certainly, man's sort of ambition to go beyond the Earth and to look forward into space. I think in the last 100 years has been the most significant thing that a man has attempted. And how did that go? I think some amount of understanding of how that went will tell us which way we are going in this new era of disruption. So way back, I mean, it's interesting that it was, way back in 1957, which I'm sure many in this room weren't around at that point, when Sputnik became the first craft to take off into outer space. And it set the tone for what would become a huge, sort of race and a competition between countries, as you all know. The Soviet Union followed up, of course, with putting Yuri Gagarin again in space in a couple of years in 1961. I think this jolted the Americans so much that within a decade, they had the first man on the moon. So what we saw, what we experienced was an all-out sort of competition between governments and countries to get ahead on what was a technological platform. And we know how that went within years of the Soviet Union and the US establishing themselves as frontrunners in space technology. Myriad countries, including China and of course India, have all gone on. We have interplanetary crafts, sporting the flags of several countries, all whizzing around outer space. And we know that race has delivered huge gains to humanity from, of course, the communication technologies that we now use so seamlessly, agriculture, weather, medicine, you name it, we've all gained from the expansion of space technology. What was interesting in that, and that's the reason I thought I would, bring this up and contrast that with what we are seeing, it was nations and governments that were leading that charge. So there was an understanding that what the investments, and there were billions of dollars of investments, we all know that, but we know that it was being led for the good of all. There was definitely common good and public good undergirding the entire growth of space technology. I'd urge you to take a minute to look at how the current wave of technological progress is how that is shaping up and what we are seeing now. Today, as we find ourselves in the midst of another all-out race for dominance, this time in the AI or artificial intelligence arena, I think it's important to note that it's no longer governments that are setting the pace for change. You can argue that they are directing efforts from the shadows, particularly in the case of China, perhaps, but that is an argument that we can have. But really, in reality, very evidently, the slugfest is being led by a whole phalanx of private companies with trillion-dollar valuations. This is helmed by a cast of technology czars who are definitely very interesting and provide us all with a lot of material to, sort of ponder over, to be entertained by, and so on and so forth. And they certainly do not see eye to eye on the direction of growth for the industry or about the trajectory that this definitely, paradigm changing is actually a mild word. This is technology that can literally change how humanity lives in coming years. And this is being shaped in large part by technology leaders who do not see eye to eye with each other. And as we recently saw, they're not even averse to some hand-to-hand combat certain times. So AI is now the new battleground, and it is dominated by billionaires, and with governments playing, I would think, definitely a less influential role. To my mind, that is the big difference in really what we are faced with at this point of time, and why I think a topic such as sustainable innovation and the points that Dr. Mishra spoke of become very pertinent, because I think this undergirds the entire argument. Is this for public good? Is this the best for all of humanity? Is this something that all individuals all human individuals will benefit from. I think that's really essentially the point that we need to ponder, and we need to think, and why this is so different from earlier changes. Dr. Mishra also made a point about the steam engine, of course, and I know that too came from private innovation. It came from research from individuals, but these were very easy. And I know private enterprise is required to, who better than a business journalist? I do know that private enterprise is really the force multiplier for all innovation, for all research. So this is not to take away from the importance of private enterprise or the need for individual effort to take research and innovation outside of laboratories and bring it down to the use of individuals. That is definitely important. But I think all of the changes that we have seen in those eras have been definitely anchored or have been led by oversight and regulation by institutions, by governments that have ensured that these technologies have been correlated for the greater use of humanity. I think the difference in the times that we now live in is that we are on this absolutely, what shall we say, we're without guardrails on a journey where the speed is exponential, as we've all seen. And we can clearly see that the benefit of this, at least now, in terms of the benefit that is being accrued, rests definitely in a small portion of humanity. The larger base is not really gaining from this change. They're actually feeling the disruption more than the change. I think that is one of the things that I would think a conference of this sort could probably ponder over and think, like, where really is this going? These turbocharging CEOs that I mentioned get all the attention with their model. So again, this brings us down to how should AI be built? The model that is currently being followed, the model that is best known to all of us right now, is the one that the technology leaders definitely have put their money and their might behind. And this is more compute, more data, and that becomes equal to more powerful models. And that the argument that they offer us is that this model of getting a machine to learn and learn and learn, and by pouring more compute and more data into it, will lead us to the stated goal of artificial general intelligence, AGI, which they say is their holy grail. But there are questions, So yes, all of those who are putting their might behind it will definitely get their return on investment, as we're already seeing from the valuations that are currently available to these companies that follow this model right now. But the point that I would like to, raise for all of you to think about is, will humanity at large, will people of all stripes, shapes, callings, from whichever part of the globe, whichever part of the universe, will they get to benefit equally from this epochal technology? I think there is no argument about the fact that we're living at an epochal moment, that, the next century ahead is going to be very unlike the one that, say, my generation lived through. We know that. There is no argument. Who's going to benefit from that is the question. And again, I take you back again to the example of the space odyssey of the 20th century, when I came of age, that I will again place that in front of you. All of the investments in the space odyssey arguably benefited a larger slice of humanity, for sure. Will AI do the same is the question I would like to leave you with. And I go back again to what I began by saying, will AI usher in beneficial change, or will it upend humanity's long-fought gains? These are questions, and there are fears and anxieties that are gripping nations, citizens everywhere, because I think we all need to be honest. There are no answers at this point to a question like this. This can seem like a very simplistic take on a very complex tectonic change that we're all living through. Like, while the when, how, and what of AGI remains to be decoded, there is enough disruption already evident on an everyday basis world over. It has that change and that disruption has both wowed us and as well as disturbed or frightened us, right? Every time someone logs into a chat GPT and asks, I am very depressed. What do you think I should be doing? And up comes an answer. We're all wowed by this and we're thinking, oh my God, this understands what I'm saying. But equally, just think of the disruption underway across where a student, many people such as yourselves, are looking and saying, what is the career that I can shape for myself at a time when the machine that was earlier my tool could probably now do things better than I'm able to do it. So where does that leave me? Now that is frightening. So the perils, the dangers, are they real dangers? So there's a magnitude leap in efficiency that automation and machine learning offer. For sure, there is no argument about that. But that is a direct threat to white collar jobs, and by extension, the service economy that undergirds economic expansion and dare I say, human aspiration itself across societies. I think essentially the economic gains, the expansion that the world has seen, as I said, in the post-World War II era, has been definitely shaped by a large slice of humanity wanting to transit into the white-collar economy, because that is where growth has been possible. That is where learning, quality of life, and a greater enjoyment of the benefits of technological progress have come to people. AI has raised questions on that exact arc of mobility that has shaped the lives of literally all of us in this generation, definitely for the last two generations. That is a big question. In India, I think we are all aware, given that, the once in a lifetime boost in the economy of the country that became possible after liberalization in the 1990s, which coincided with the technology boom, the IT services boom that has lifted millions of Indians into the middle class. AI offers sort of poses an existential threat to that one industry that has literally been that has put India on the world stage over the last 3 to 4 decades, and that to be questioned on the longevity of that industry is no small thing for a country like India to grapple with. It is a huge thing. It's a huge, huge challenge ahead of us. Very recently, writing in the Economic Times, the tech columnist Jaspreet Brinder noted that the labor to output ratio that underpins classic IT services pricing is under pressure. Now, that is a self-evident point. The arbitrage model of thousands of low-cost software engineers managing outsourced technology servicing is nearly dead, as an army of AI agents managed by single human engineers can complete such tasks with lower friction. So where does that leave India? So when we talk of disruption, there is disruption at an existential level, and there is disruption at an everyday professional livelihood level. And I think for a country like India, this is a major point. We really are at a moment where we need to reflect as to what lies ahead. So to answer that question, I thought it will take a very quick look back to see how did the world get here in the first place. Interestingly enough, all of this AI boom began just exactly a year before Sputnik took off. Okay, it's sort of serendipitous when you think about it. And unlike other technologies where things happen perhaps in tranches and gradually, in what could possibly be written subsequent years as the history of AI, you can actually drill it down to an actual single date. So the 18th of June, 1956, a year before, like I said, Sputnik took off into outer space, a team of professors met at Dartmouth University, the Ivy League university that you'll all be familiar with in the US. They were sitting down for a 2-week-long workshop to build a thinking machine. It was a good time to be thinking of thoughts like this. Computers were coming into vogue. And you will also find it interesting that, that was the era when IBM had begun to turn a profit from the sale of computers. The IBM 650 was the first profitable computer to be sold. So it was a great time for professors to sit down and to say, so what next? Can we make this machine a thinking machine? So that's what that workshop, sat out to do over those 2 weeks. Evidently, nothing concrete came out of it. Otherwise, we would have known. But that workshop is now considered the starting point for AI for 2 simple reasons. They left enough on the table to kickstart a longer journey. They proposed 2 ways to create AI. One, through teaching machines to recognize symbols. And the second, the one that we are now experiencing, by teaching machines to learn, which is literally what we are now experiencing. It is the second path, adopted with super gusto for over half a century after that landmark workshop by companies, now company, earlier non-profit, OpenAI, that has captured the attention of the world with its promise of plenty for few and penury for others. In just the last week, as India hosted like a landmark India AI summit, we've seen the way the stock markets have been behaving, right? And the amount of, shall we say, the, sort of deep, gyrations of the stock market led by, enormous sale in technology stocks directly as a result of just a few announcements by an AI startup. In this instance, Anthropic. Anthropic, which again has people leading it who have come out of OpenAI to take forward what they call as ethical AI, and in contrast to what they claim is the model adopted by OpenAI, all the niceties of that, which I think we can leave out. But largely, all that Anthropic did over the last week or so was to announce enterprise-level bots that were able to sort of have such an impact because it influenced everything from legal services to accounting to software coding. And that's it. You've seen IBM's stock decline by 13%, wiping off $31 billion of market cap valuation for the company that in many ways inspired the first, like I said, that first workshop on artificial intelligence. Life certainly comes full circle, huh? I was talking to an architect the other day who was telling me that the industry body that oversees that profession in India, which mostly has been comatose, has suddenly come alive. Apparently, they're now teaching or telling architects that to stay relevant in this, era of disruption, they need to know how to provide prompts to ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whoever, that will get the machine to provide efficiency, but will not reveal the tricks of the trade. So this I thought was super interesting to have an industry body in India actually tell their people, we'll train you how to ask the right prompts. Don't reveal too much. Make sure that the machine is your, assistant and not your teacher. I mean, this is like absolutely the level to which it has seeped into our society on an everyday level. And like I said, for a company of this, and the sort of existential questions that it has raised, no less for a company like IBM, whose profitable retailing of computers inspired that early AI pioneers of the 1950s. They're literally looking to see how they can now come back into the game just because an AI startup, which, as many of you will know, is now valued at a staggering 380 billion, which is really the current valuation of Anthropic, is now challenging the might of a company that has over a century-old legacy in machines, in the space of information technology. So this is the widespread disruption that we are seeing in the business cycle from new product releases from AI startups. And this is just going to continue. It's likely to become par for the course as the current wave of AI development keeps hurtling forward. More compute, more data, stronger, bigger models, which is the model I think that these companies, these startups are set upon, which actually brings us to the question, I think, relevant to what you all are going to discuss. I think pretty much right now, that is the model that has been established. More compute, more data, equal to bigger, stronger models. Now, there's a very clear payoff required by the rest of humanity to allow those models to continue on the journey that they've set up. They need more data annotators, they need more original data, they need more energy to run those massive, humongous data centers to get the more powerful models that they say is the only learning method that AI can adopt to reach what they see as artificial general intelligence. So there is no debate really. Is that the journey? Is that the only model that we should be following? There is no space or time or even opportunity for a debate of that sort. I think that is where academia comes in. That is where groupings of people such as yourselves can play a role. You can question, is that the only model? Is that the only way that we should be following? For sure, people with, billion-dollar valuations can set the rules, as we know they do. do we need to take that as the last word in the journey of AI? Should that be the final model itself? I think those are the questions that a conference such as yours really should be debating. And, for instance, the transformer-led model, right, which is what the ChatGPT is built on. And is that really the only way that you should be going? So to my mind, there are three important aspects that I would leave you with that I think are very important and do not get enough time or space or attention for discussion. From a emerging economy perspective, and even from an India perspective, I think the question that we should be asking is, where is AI, where is India, and where is the global South in this absolutely transformer-led journey of machine learning that we are now currently on the path? Is that the only path? Is that the only way forward? Is there a different way? I think that's a question that we really need to ask. Then, of course, as a woman professional, for me, the question of AI and women is a very important one. We all know how AI works, how it's trained. It's trained on existing data that already exists from across publications, from across libraries, from repositories of conversations that people have had on the internet. If there was no internet, there would be no AI for sure, as we all know. And so what we are saying is AI is being, and again, as we're very aware, what this gives rise to is that AI is being trained on existing biases, on existing data, and existing modes of the way societies are structured world over. So it is literally, while we like to think, or we are given to think, or led to think that, there is a brave new world out there, finally, what we realize, if we just sit back and look at how AI is being trained, it is just the same old, same old. Is that good enough? So that's a question that, as a woman professional, is very much on top of my mind. If the same inequities, the same displacements, and the same disadvantages continue in the era of AI, how do people with lesser agency find a place in the sun? This is anyway going to be disruptive, right? It's going to change the way that life looks for everybody, but more so for people with lesser agency. And because the data that trains AI is working on exactly the same biases that exist in the world that we humans have created. So that, again, for me, is a big question. And Professor Mishra touched upon this, AI and the environment. How bigger can that question get? The demand in the transformer-led model that we are now seeing of more data, more compute, means a degradation of environment all over the world, right? We are seeing it happen in the United States, where data centers are going into smaller towns, into lesser known areas, away from their large centers. And people are protesting. They're saying, we don't want these machines. You're taking away our land, taking away our water. Then, of course, there's a demand for energy. The amount of energy that is required to run a data center. I know there was a recent argument, I think Sam Altman said this, that all the energy that is required to raise a person until the age of 20, a human until the age of 20 years, is not comparable to the amount of energy required to run the data centers that power, say, a ChatGPT, for example. Is that a debate that we would want to get into? I mean, are we drilling it down to that level? So, these are questions of public good, of erosion of inequity in society as it now exists. And definitely from an India perspective, what does it mean for a developing economy, for an emerging economy, for the global South? I think these are questions that only academia can actually answer, can actually engage with and take forward. In India, I think there's a chance to also champion the cause of workers who fuel the AI data boom. Data comes from data annotators who are paid a low working wage to actually feed these machines. I think we're all aware of that. I heard one of you all mention that there were papers here from Kenya and I think from other places. Now, these have been the economies and the societies from which data annotation work has happened to train these large models. A lot of ChatGPT has been trained by the work of data annotators in countries like Kenya, definitely India, from across the world in South America, Venezuela, all of these countries. These are the societies that are, sort of making possible the work that fuels these models and fuels these entire machines. So what happens to all of that? So I think India has a chance to even talk about that. our low-cost labor arbitrage model of IT services is, often mocked these days, saying that we've not risen forward. What is happening in the age of AI? Are we then going to be reduced to again becoming the data annotators of the world? I think that's another question that we should ask ourselves, and is something that we should definitely put our minds to. In raising these questions, I'm not trying to be a Luddite, and I'm not at any point of time saying that, what we're seeing ahead of us is to be feared, or it should be shunned, or we should step away from it. That's very far from the point that I'm trying to make. As with any new technology, I think the need is to be curious. It is to question, definitely to experiment and to embrace AI, which is the only way that we can actually move forward and make a difference and be able to be participants and partners in the way this technology is shaped. And it's an incredible technology. There's no doubt at all about that. To all of you who could be looking ahead at what might an AI-led future look like, I have just one thing to say. Craft your own vision of what that bot must do. Don't wait to be told. Instead, set the design yourself. I can't but say, be the initiator, not the follower. I'd like to end on that note, and then to ask all of you, so did I pass the Turing test? Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for that truly, truly wonderful speech. I'm letting your words mull in my mind. But over the top of my head, to tie whatever ma'am said back to how she started, she said that there is this parallel of how we study space and pre-World War. What I would like to think of is, with space and with the wars, there was a sense of national pride. I don't know what things would look like 50 years, 100 years from now when it comes to the question of AI. But if I close my eyes and if we close our eyes, I feel we should strive to create a museum and not a memoriam of AI in the future. Just like we have pride in the museums that we have. If you're in Bangalore, and please visit the planetarium. It has a lovely visual of how space exploration happened, and we're proud of what we contributed as India. We have a museum. But with AI, I hope there are museums where we collectively look back with pride. Okay, this has been our contribution, and not a memoriam where we mourn our involvement even. But again, thank you so very much, ma'am. And it truly has left all of us with so much to think of. I would now request the dignitaries to kindly join us on stage for the official release of the conference proceedings. Please, ma'am, sir, if you could join us. Thank you, dignitaries. I would now request Dr. Jitendra Kumar Mishra, sir, the Vice Chancellor in charge and Registrar, to kindly felicitate Ms. Archana Rai.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. We will now take a short tea break. Tea is being served right outside the seminar hall 1. This is a wonderful opportunity to refresh yourselves and engage in meaningful conversations with fellow delegates. We request you to kindly reassemble shortly as we reconvene for the plenary address, followed by the distinguished guest address and keynote address. We look forward to welcoming you back for these engaging and meaningful deliberations. Thank you, and please enjoy the tea break.
ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಬೇಕಂತೆ ಹಾಗೆ ಬಂದಿಸ್ ಮಾಡ ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಬೇಕಂತೆ ಇದನ್ನ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ Guys, wait. Guys, wait. Mohammed sir, can you able to hear us? You can unmute yourself, Mohammed sir. Mohammed sir. Mohammed sir. Mohammed sir. Mohammed sir. Ravi sir. Hey, can you please call Shakti sir? Shakti sir. Call Shakti sir. Sir. Sir, Shakti sir. I want Mohammed sir to be online for a few minutes.
Mohammed sir is not online.
He's line, but he's not in because I want to check the connectivity. That's why. Ravi sir, can you able to hear me? Copy or it's 100. Mohammed sir. Mohammed sir. Mohammed sir, can you able to hear us? Ravi sir, are you online? Can you please speak something? Ravi sir? Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Able to hear us, sir? Ravi sir?
I can hear you, man.
Yeah, so audio is clearly audible, right, for you, sir?
Yes, yes, I can hear. I've heard all the speakers. I can hear. Can you hear?
Online session right now happens, so that's why I'm just clarifying the audio and everything, that's all. Because
No
setup is
problem.
changed.
That's fine.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, I didn't hear whenever speaker speaks, I have to change. So, but for this now.
Okay.
We'll come in 1 minute, sir. Whatever.
Mohammed sir, you can Mohammed sir. Tell them to speak something. Mohammed sir, can you able to hear us? He can unmute himself. He's not speaking. We are trying, but he's not responding. He's a host, he can unmute. He's a co-host, he can unmute himself. He can speak now. I just want him to speak 1 minute, otherwise I can't. I told him. But I think it has to be ready, right? Next session. Mohammed sir, can you able to hear us? Can you able to hear us, sir?
Yes, yes, yes. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Thank you, sir.
Okay, fine, fine. All right. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Hello.
Yeah, but you can never question the
Hold on, why gaming?
break. We now have an announcement from our Student Research and Development Cell, SRDC. I request Ms. Soumya and Mr. Prem, the President and Vice President of SRDC, I request you on stage to make your announcement.
Good morning, distinguished guests, respected faculty members and students. I am Soumya Digwal, the student convener of the Student International Conference 2026 and president of the Student Research and Development Cell, Vidyanidhi. It is my privilege as a student representative to formally announce this prestigious international conference organized by JNT University Center for Management Studies under the guidance of our esteemed faculty. The conference is centered on the theme of AI and the New World Order, innovation, sustainability, and strategy in a disrupted global landscape. This theme reflects the profound transformation that artificial intelligence is driving across economies, governance systems, and societies worldwide. It highlights the need to balance technological progress with sustainability, ethical responsibility, and strategic insight. Scheduled to be held on 13th and 14th of March 2026 at our CMS campus here in Lal Bagh, Bengaluru. This conference aims to serve as a multidisciplinary academic platform, bringing together students, research scholars, academicians, and industry professionals. It provides an opportunity to present original research, exchange perspectives, and engage in meaningful discussions on contemporary AI. On behalf of the organizing team, I cordially invite all members of the academic community to participate and contribute to this important initiative. We look forward to your presence and support. Thank you.
Thank you, Prem and Soumya, and we do hope the audience shows just as much enthusiasm with the upcoming conference as well. On that note, we now transition to our plenary sessions. We are privileged to welcome a global leader in academia and finance, Professor Dr. Kop Mohammed. Dr. Mohammed serves as the Regional Director for Omnicom Media Group PLC, West and Central Africa, bringing real-world corporate expertise to the forefront. Currently, he holds prestigious academic positions such as the Vice Chancellor of London American University College Zambia, Dean and Managing Director of London American City College UAE, and Adjunct Professor at Madonna University, Michigan, USA. With an impressive 29 years of academic leadership experience, his expertise spans business management, operations, marketing, and education. Dr. Mohammed is a true scholar, holding multiple doctorates from the USA, Europe, and India. He actively contributes to global academic standards, serving as an accreditation expert, PhD examiner, and research guide for various international universities. His commitment and excellence have been recognized with an astonishing 154 national and international awards, including commendations from California Legislative Assembly and the World Confederation of Businesses. He is a Harvard certified educator in entrepreneurship and a UK CPD certified professional. A prolific academician and dedicated social servant for over 25 years, Sir has delivered over 350 seminars, published 50 research papers, and guided more than 800 projects. It is with immense respect and pleasure that we invite Professor Dr. Kop Mohammed to deliver his plenary address. Sir, the floor is yours. Sir will be joining us virtually, just to thank you.
Distinguished guests, members of the advisory board, members of the organizing committee, professors, scholars, presenters, industry officials, faculty members, students, and other distinguished attendees. Good morning, one and all, and namaskar, one and all. It's a great privilege, and I'm very delighted to be here virtually at the international conference organized by the Center for Management Studies under the Jain University, India, based in Bangalore. Currently, I am holding two positions. I arrived from Republic of Zambia 2 weeks back, and now I am currently in the United Arab Emirates. I'm addressing you all the way from United Arab Emirates, and I wish to mention that I miss Bangalore. I was intending to attend physically in view of some commitment. I was unable to attend this conference. This conference is very important for academia and for the industry. And I feel that this type of conference will bring in collaboration and it helps in harnessing technology for continuous improvement. If I go with the two Nobel Prize winners, one is Philip Aglian and the other one is Peter Howitt, they have developed a model which is called as creative destruction. And what does it mean by creative destruction? When a new and a better product enters the market, the companies selling the older products lose out. And this is where it comes in picture. The AI, we can say, a creative disruption or a creative destruction. I would like to start with a success formula strategy where I always wish my students to go in with their personal commitment, collaboration, and creativity is very important with respect to technology and digitalization. Continuous improvement through sustainability and digitalization is very important, and that's what I would like to put up the examples from United Arab Emirates, from Dubai, to say about digitalization, to give an example from here, what's happening, and this can be taken an example for our economy and see that how we can adopt some of these developments, some of their achievements, and implement the same in India. You must have observed that Indian government recently conducted AI Summit 2026, and it was a very, very successful summit, which emphasized on rural livelihood, social inclusion, and service delivery across sectors such as agriculture, healthcare, education, and governance. India has done immensely very well in AI, implementation of AI in several sectors, and the startup ecosystem where India ranks third globally in AI vibrancy, featuring 520 plus active tech incubators and strong support for AI-focused startups. India's AI governance framework prioritizes fairness, accountability, transparency, and specific risk mitigation to prevent exclusion and administrative harm. What I feel is that in the United Arab Emirates, there are so many examples recently happening. A lot of things are happening in terms of AI and sustainability. It looks for AI, it looks for sustainability in terms of providing comfort, in terms of providing convenience, in terms of providing accuracy and speed. But what is important is that this is blended with human interaction and accountability. You'll find that in the United Arab Emirates, they have recently come out with smart cars. And what are these smart cars? Smart cars are said to detect visa violators. Visa violators, you'll find that this smart car cameras cover a visual image up to 10 meters in all directions and can be operated anytime. So this is what is a smart car. You'll find any visa violators, can be identified very easily through the use of AI technology. Same way, another example, if you look into, there's a smart parking system which monitors everything. You'll find that there are no people to monitor whether the person has put the parking card. The car itself monitors everything, and there's a monitoring system where it takes immediately a round of the parking area, and the defaulters or defaulting cars are being identified. When you talk about vehicle inspection time has cut down, because here you'll find that every year the vehicle has to be registered, it has to be inspected. And the inspection time has been cut down from the past 17 minutes to 7 minutes with the new RTA technology, which goes in for auto check with 360-degree scanning, which will utilize 26 cameras to take 40,000 photos of a car to ensure the fitness of the car. So this is what is coming up. And further, when we go, we'll find that air taxis without a pilot. So air taxis without a pilot, there are already autonomous taxis running here in the United Arab Emirates. Now air taxis without a pilot is going to come up. But again, it all depends on how the people feel to utilize it. Do they feel safe? Do they feel that the human interaction is going on with the artificial intelligence? So this is what they are trying to do, and trying to see that how we can bring in human interaction with the artificial intelligence. UAE is seeking 10,000 AI firms by 2030, so that it brings in lots of AI applications in the industry. Unmanned aerial vehicles, we call it as UAV, AI-driven logistics delivery solutions, which has conducted a test flight of cargo drone manufactured in the United Arab Emirates. Human skills like creativity and teamwork will be also very important in the years to come. I would like to mention that Dubai Airport has introduced a smart gate, where smart gate, you'll find that it's an AI-enabled biometric gates that verifies passengers in seconds, and over 80% reduction in the immigration processing time. Apart from this smart gate, you'll find that now the gates, you need not stand at the gate for, scanning your face or your fingerprint, etc. Now there is a smart gate which is there that you just walk in into the red carpet. So you need not stop, just pass on with the immigration gates. You are automatically, it records in the system as you are exited from the country. UAE has come up with a year 2026, which is called as Year of Family. It's a year of family which focus on strengthening family ties, supporting parents, and promoting family well-being, integrating work-life balancing, promoting growth with values and national identity, education alongside traditions. Dubai New App has a unified platform offering access to over 250 government and private sector services which can do anything. It can pay your bills, it can renew your license, it can also renew your residency permits. Dubai is going to go in for a paperless strategy, eliminating 1 billion paper transactions annually. Dubai Pass. Dubai Pass is another way. It's first secure national digital identity that provides a single sign-on for various services, including your flat registration, including your court documents, including your will. So you have an app. So every resident, every citizen has a UA app or UA pass, okay, where you need not go physically sign your paper, nothing. You just put your code and you are with it. So this is what UA pass has come up. Same way you'll find that there are smart tolls, autonomous mobility, etc. All these artificial intelligence, they look for, in the United Arab Emirates, they always look for how do you boost the work and life balancing. And that's the reason they have come up with an exercise where you'll find that in the Emirate of Sharjah, they have introduced 4-day week scheme, 4-day working days, okay, in the Emirate of Sharjah, especially for the government employees. And the impact is tremendous. You'll find that the research and the studies showed that 86% of all respondents demonstrated higher productivity. 89.6% respondents achieved a higher work performance, and 90% of the respondents agreed that their job satisfaction increased. With a higher overall satisfaction rate at work, employees are guaranteed to perform better. So, this is what is going on. You'll find that one side they are implementing artificial intelligence, digitalization, the other side they are also taking care of the society, of the well-being of the people. And especially you'll find UAE, United Arab Emirates, and the Gulf region during the summers, it is too high, more than 50 degrees, 55 degrees. So in that case, what they do, they give a summer break. So all the blue collar workers, they have a summer break, which goes with protecting the employees in the UAE. And if you look into their visa strategies, you'll find that in the United Arab Emirates, they are very, very conscientious about the visa strategies, and they have implemented something called as a green visa, a 5-year self-sponsored visa for skilled employees, freelancers, and investors, removing employer sponsorship. And recently they have introduced something called as a blue visa. And what is this blue visa? A new 10-year visa for the environmental contributors. So AI is there in each and every part of United Arab Emirates. When you talk into AI-powered police stations, there's a police station in Dubai which is called as Smart Police Station, operating 24/7, 24 hours with no human staff. So AI used for filing reports, you can use for paying your fines, lost and found, video communications with the AI powered police stations. We call it as SPS, which is called as the smart police stations. Over 1 million visitors have used smart police stations in the Dubai. So you'll find that there are no human being. It is totally managed by the artificial intelligence. Same way, AI identifies crime spots as well. Based on the data patterns, they help to deploy police teams very, very efficiently at every point of time. So this is what you'll find. The Dubai has come out with an AI campus, which is operational, which is aiming to host around 500 AI companies by 2028, creating a central hub for innovation and talent search. So this is what you'll find that AI is doing very well in the United Arab Emirates, and along with that, sustainability is also going on. When I look into the Dubai waste management centers, Dubai waste management centers, the largest waste to energy plant in world, which is capable of processing 1.9 million tons of waste annually, and which generates electricity power for 120,000 homes. So this is what is, they try to see that sustainability is also there. Same with Dubai municipality is now currently highlighting on recycling 35% of the waste, but by 2030, they are going to have, targeting 75% of the waste will be recycled in the years to come. So you'll find everywhere there's AI, there's a virtual officer which is called as Amna, Dubai's first AI powered virtual police officer who is available 24/7 at smart kiosks and online and assist residents and tourists with filing their complaints, with guiding them, locating stations throughout their natural conversation. Same way for the government services, there is Rama's chatbot, the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority AI chatbot, which handles customer queries and service requests, leading to easier resolutions. You'll find that a lot of things are being done in the United Arab Emirates, which is in concomitant with the AI and in concomitant with the human interaction. So, in conclusion, I could say that AI has demonstrated a increase in the productivity, reduces the operations cost, and if you look into organization using AI has, you'll find that their customer satisfaction has increased by more than 25%. When you talk about DHA, Dubai Health Authority uses the AI screening system, cutting waiting time by 30%. Even universities are using the AI concept, which shows an improvement in the retention rate, which is about approximately 15%. And you'll find that there is an improvement in the student engagement by 50%, and the administrative load has also reduced by 30 to 40%. So overall, I should say that AI is doing very well, but only one thing which I feel that, AI should, go with an integrated approach. There should be, some sort of humanistic approach as well. So it should be a blended approach. AI should not be left alone. AI should be supported with the human interaction. That is what is very important, because without a human interaction, you will not be able to manage technology, and human being cannot be replaced by the technology. So it's a pleasure in attending this particular international conference, and I'll be very pleased next time to visit personally at your campus to attend attend your future conference. And you all are most welcome. You can visit, Republic of Zambia. In Republic of Zambia also, they are implementing a lot of AI concepts, and you'll find that they are going in for some sort of skills-based learning. That is what is very important, because 58% of the hiring managers, they say that college graduates are unprepared. Why unprepared? Because we try to see that we need to implement experiential learning, we need to implement student-centered learning, we need to introduce internship opportunities. We also need to see that the students are involved in their projects. And that's the reason, in the Republic of Zambia, when you are introducing any particular course, any particular program, they feel that there should be a course on entrepreneurship, there should be a course on startups. So these are the requirements. Without that, they don't provide, the Higher Education Authority in Republic of Zambia, they don't provide any accreditation unless, let it be any type of course, but they want to see that there is a course on entrepreneurship, startups, and the technology. Once again, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak at the conference, and you all are most welcome to get in touch with me. Whenever you are in UAE, you're most welcome to UAE, as well as whenever you visit Africa, please do come to Republic of Zambia in Lusaka. Thank you once again. I would like to place on records my sincere gratitude to the organizing committee members and the conveners and the co-conveners, and thanks to one and all, and pleasure to see you at the conference. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
You, sir, for those words of wisdom and the invitation. I am sure that if there ever is an avenue for us to be there, we will. We're grateful for the invitation. I think that's what I want to say. We now move on to our next session. I am honored to introduce our distinguished guest, Mr. Naveen Kashyap. Mr. Kashyap brings a profound interdisciplinary perspective, shaped by engineering, global leadership, and a deep respect for knowledge systems. Trained as an engineer at Bangalore University and in leadership at XLRI Jamshedpur, his career crosses cultures and geographies and has grounded his belief that learning and ethics must guide technological progress. As Chief Platform Officer and Global Head of Digital Business at Yokogawa Electric Corporation, Japan, Mr. Naveen works at the intersection of AI, digital platforms, and industry sustainability, focusing not only on innovation at scale, but on responsible integration of technology into complex socio-technological systems. Sir is a recipient of the Udyog Ratna and the Leadership Excellence Award and is a regular speaker on international forums. He is equally committed to mentorship and academic dialogue. His association with Shankara Gurukulam reflects his conviction that sustainable and ethical innovation is strengthened when modern science engages with enduring wisdom and traditions. With immense respect, we invite Mr. Naveen Kashyap to deliver his address. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I suppose my secretary might have used ChatGPT to generate that as well. So, good morning. I know I'm going to hear a lot of claps at the end of my session because at the end it's all over, right? So now we are actually only trying to welcome you. Quick set of questions here. I'm not here to give you a sermon. Okay, I'm a student like you. I'm learning in a different space. You are actually learning in a different space. How many of you are carrying a smartphone in your pocket? Not even a question, right? How many of you have used ChatGPT at least once today? ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, or anything at all? At least once today. A quick show of hands. 1, 2, 3. About 50% of it. 50% of the audience. You know, statistics says 70% of the global population of 8 billion have access to internet. Right? I was assuming that about 70% of the available audience also would have actually used internet or probably AI today. Seems like it's around 50%. The reason as to why I'm asking you this question is, do you know, without really looking at the reason or the purpose for using your technology, do you know, amongst this room, probably we might have actually contributed to about 100 grams of carbon dioxide emission, right? Going by the show of hands, right? It's about 30 liters of water as you speak, okay? And about 0.8 to 1 kilowatt hour of energy to satisfy your intellectual appetite when you actually pulled up your phone and asked a question to ChatGPT or Gemini to do anything at all. Could be generating a reel, could be asking a very simple question about weather, or could probably be talking about who are the attendees of this particular conference, right? I'm trying to bring in a very subtle point here. It's a phase wherein we have actually passed thinking about use cases for AI. Exploring possibilities about how AI can be used is probably left behind now. We probably are focusing on the next important thing, if AI permeates the way it is expected to, what is the resource footprint? Now we are just looking at it, right? Just amongst a pool of about 80 people over here, we have contributed to so much of emissions. Remember, there is a world of 8 billion people outside this room, right? And this is only 2 hours in the day, and you still have another 22 hours to go, right? So the focus of this conversation has to be not about finding use cases for AI in sustainability. The conveners asked me if you could talk about integrating AI sustainably into business. So what we are trying to really talk about is how do we make this AI itself sustainable, right? What does sustenance mean in general? Any answers from the audience here? What is sustainability? Yes, please.
So thinking of ahead futures, the future generation.
Sorry?
Development, but keeping in the mind the future generation.
Okay, developing something, keeping the future generation in mind. Okay, perfect. Alternate.
Sir, using in the present without compromising the future.
Wonderful. That is the UN definition for sustainability as well.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sure you might have been writing some paper as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Might have run some queries. Okay, wonderful. Okay, good. Any other perspectives? Because I'm going to really cringing to the point as to why we need to make AI sustainable. That's the reason as to why we are asking this question. Okay. So ancient Indian philosophy lies the purpose or definition of sustainability in what we call the Ishavasya Upanishad. Ishavasya midam sarvam yatkinchim jagatam jagatam. Tena tyaktena bunjita magrada kasya vidyanam. What it actually tries to say is responsible consumption of all the resources that are actually available to you without constraining the well-being of others is what we define as sustainability. So right now we are actually looking at books of UN for all these definitions, but in fact when we look back into our Vedic history, we already find an example, glowing examples of this. And then you go with circular economy examples wherein we talk about Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purna. To take the whole from the whole remains the whole, right? So we are laced with wonderful examples of sustainability. Okay, we know. Then we talk about what is AI. What is AI? Is it just using numbers to make analysis and then try to help you in decision support? Or is it something that goes beyond it? So what's the difference between analytics and AI? Let me ask another question again. Anyone? Information is AI, using the information is analytics, okay? Any other perspectives? See, both of them are pretty related. You try to use a lot of data, compute to really understand and comprehend what is there. But what separates analytics from AI is the AI's ability to think like a human. AI is not a human, think like a human. The keyword like is very important over there, right? We established that connotation very upfront. So now you have a wave of AI that is making a lot of stuff hitherto unimaginable possible as a day-to-day reality. And then on the other side, we are trying to talk about pressures on resource, trying to make it sustainable. So at the junction of these two tangents is where the space for innovation actually lies here. And I thought that is actually the key theme of this specific conference. Let me share a story because we all like stories, right? To think in terms of stories. There was a farmer, a poor Indian farmer, has let's say about 2 guntas of land, that's about 2,000 square feet of land. Okay. He grows vegetables for his living. He did realize, or rather, I think his entire living and having 2 square meals depended on what he could actually produce and sell the next day, right? he did realize that the rodent menace resulted in 50% or 40% of his produce getting eaten up and being unsellable, which means rats eat whatever vegetables were actually produced overnight. So next day you have that much little to go out and sell, which means your ability to strike your living is affected to that extent. So there was a problem. His money was actually, or his resources were being depleted to take care of his own self. So now he has to solve this problem. What does he do? Think out of the box, throw ideas. This is his problem. Rodent repellent, okay, wonderful. Any other ideas? Natural solution. He brings home a cat. Okay, because a cat is expected to really chase the rodents and ensure that everything is at bay. Very happy, right? The cat starts its vigil. Your rodents, you're saving vegetables, you're earning more money, your livelihood improves. Progressively, a cat is a cat. It doesn't always feed on mice, right? A cat needs milk. What happens? The cat strays into the neighbor's house, starts consuming milk, receives complaints. So this farmer now has to really provision for milk. So what does he do? He buys a cow, right? And then the cow has to be taken care of. You have to build something else. You have to build a pen for the cow. So you try to think about it. The cat, which appeared to be an imminent solution to a larger problem, is becoming a problem in itself now. Right? So the role of AI today is something like that. You're throwing AI at every small problem that you try to really look at without really being worried about the kind of problems that it might actually create for us if we don't really think of applying AI the right and sustainable way. That's where I love the topic of integrating AI sustainably into business as a set of discussions that are going to cover how can we really make AI itself sustainable. Okay. Remember this story. I'm going to draw back to parallels in this story every now and then as we go through the discussions. Okay. Another question. Most of you look at AI only as a technology. Are there any other perspectives around AI? What is AI all about? So is AI implementation all about technology? A quick show of hands, how many of you do believe AI implementations are all about technology? Don't worry, it doesn't take carbon footprint to raise your hands. You can freely raise your hands. Anyone who thinks AI is all about technology and technology alone? None, right? You know, implementation of AI actually is seen as a 5-layered cake. You might have actually heard about it. At the bottommost level is what we call energy. The energy that is needed to power AI. Okay. The second level is what we actually call the chip. The so-called NVIDIA chips, etc., that you have actually been hearing. Google TensorFlow chips. That is a piece of intelligence that feeds on the power to crunch data and give you intelligence. The real place where the action happens. The third level of implementation is what we call infrastructure, wherein multiple such chips actually come together in server rooms, etc. They need to be powered on, they need to be connected, they need to be wired, they need to be alive all the time, they need to be cooled. Third part. The fourth aspect is what we actually call the model level of intelligence, wherein you have all the data, you have an infrastructure on wherein you can actually run this compute, but you need to still make sense of the input and generate an output accordingly. That's the model level. Okay. And the tip of it is you have models, but you need to really apply it in the context of real world use cases. Probably the previous speaker, we could hear how AI itself is actually being implemented in various parts of Dubai, Zambia, and other places. But we need to really ensure that whatever application we do have out of AI is very suitable to the context in which we operate as well, right? So the application space is the topmost level, which actually talks about how we can create value out of AI as a whole. The world today is chasing the application layer. Okay, mostly focusing on what is the next new idea that I can actually generate out of AI, right? That's also the reason as to many of us do think that we are trying to really look at replacing humans. While what we as a world are actually forgetting the impact of the bottom 4 levels, the model, infrastructure, the chip, and the energy consumption footprint that we actually try to talk about in terms of delivering this delicacy called a cake of AI. Okay. So as we probably start rodding up from energy all the way to application, the definition of sustainability also becomes wider and wider. It goes beyond green energy alone. So sustainability is not just green energy. Come on, forget it. Green energy is a very essential, but not a sufficient condition for sustainability. That's where, when we are trying to talk about Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu, everyone has to be at peace. That's where the integration of the ethical side of applications actually do come into picture, right? The ethicality, the morality side of the story, right? The accountability part of it, the verifiability part of it, the validation part of it, right? And then the sustainability part of it. When we try to talk about sustainability, we can try to really look at it as a going concern. How do we keep anything going, and going? How do we ensure that something that actually starts off as a flash flood doesn't burn in no time? That is sustainability. So sustainability involves multiple dimensions. So when we try to really look at this 5-layer cake theory, what we are trying to talk about AI, the dimensions that we start discussing beyond technology actually widens as we really cross the infrastructure level. Even while setting up infrastructure and energy resources, you might have ethical conundrums. For example, in India, wherein switching on a pump set for a farmer is big time, right? And he gets power for only probably 2 hours in a day or 4 hours in a day to water his farm. Are you willing to invest in data infrastructure and chips and everything else that is actually going to provide you intelligence for creating what memes and reels? That will be a primary question. So the question of ethicality that actually comes up over there is, can we ensure that the benefits that originate out of this use case that we are trying to talk about, being able to outperform the constraints that it's actually going to create for us? For example, if I try to take a simple use case, how much of social impact it is actually going to have, and how many people will be probably impacted positively on their day-to-day life if I try to really look at that benefit versus the cost or the footprint, then it makes things viable. So there are questions like this we need to address. Corporates and technologies have this tendency to chase efficiencies, right? You make more compute, you make more intelligence delivered per every unit of consumption. This is the way we can think, because the pressures on us is mostly to do with how are we doing on our next monthly numbers, how are we doing on our next quarterly numbers, how are we faring on our annual results, right? But the academia on the other side is the one that is actually going to shape this kind of thinking. Can we talk about models that integrate sustainability into the very core of AI? Not just about implementing AI or identifying use cases. How can we drive home the concept of sustainability into AI along the life cycle of its evolution? That becomes an extremely important question for you people to address. From a business point of view, there are 3 things that we expect. Number 1, any idea that actually comes up will impact a huge section of the society positively, which means I have a market. That's what I'm trying to say in a very polite way. And I try to say that is when we say we have a market, we know There is scope for value exchange, which means I get money, I give you a service, right? We are trying to talk about it. Second thing, what we try to really look about or talk about is the executives don't like putting their faces in front of cameras for the wrong reasons, which means zero non-compliance, be it with regulatory standards or be it with the socially guarded or ethical standards, which are norms in a given society. We don't like that, right? I would love to probably go and talk about maybe the bonuses that we issued, the wealth that we actually created, but I don't want to go and stand in front of a camera trying to say, sorry, we polluted the river next to you. So that's the compliance part of it, or the ethicality part of it. The third part, all this time was mostly in terms of total shareholder returns, the definition of which has actually been changing. Okay. All this time, it was mostly to do with, I have made an investment into your company by holding a share, you pay me a dividend or you try to give me a market premium for holding it. But today, the definition of total shareholder returns is taking the TBL definitions. What is TBL now? Triple bottom line. People or planet, people, profits, or profit, people, planet, depending on how you really interpret it, right? But the focus is on ensuring that there is a multidisciplinary approach, right? Without focusing totally on what AI can do for you, but also focusing on how can AI be good or how can AI be for a larger good. That is the key thing that actually goes in, right? That's where I think going beyond technology models of ensuring green powered data centers, like what Microsoft has actually been trying to talk about, consuming 100% of the energy required to run data centers, providing AI services to be green energy so that there is going to be zero energy footprint, carbon footprint, right? Or Google trying to really optimize. All those things are fine. The larger problem that we need to address for exactly what came up in the AI summit that got concluded a couple of days ago, right? And I believe you might have actually seen a couple of models that India introduced as well. Anyone can recollect it? That is Sarvam. Sarvam is a concept. Wonderful. The key definition or guideline for holistic AI solutioning in the context of Indian market is what we call Manav. You know what is Manav? Manav is the guiding philosophy for India's AI growth and AI progress. It's an AI roadmap, guide on your AI roadmap. M for morality, A for accountability, N for nationality or sovereignty, so that your data, your context are all protected within the country. So others don't use your data to shape your behavior. Today, your behaviors are all shaped by data, right? The Korean pop, the K-pop influence. Why is it happening? Because they are creating some data. People are actually trying to establish a trend around it, and it is made to look cool to go behind it, and you follow, right? So how do we really ensure that we are not colonized by way of our data principles? So the national sovereignty actually comes in. Then A, accessibility and availability. Can this technology be made available and accessible to the last person on the planet, last person in India, irrespective of his economic stature? Can we validate the outcomes, right? So applying these principles of Manav is extremely critical, irrespective of whether I'm operating as a company or I'm coming up with a startup idea or I'm trying to do something. So if you try to come out with an AI application idea today without worrying about sustainability, you're not even doing yourself justice. Forget about making money, you're not even doing yourself justice. We have to ensure sustainability is in the roots of the overall idea that we are actually trying to talk about. And you have to maintain that kind of a flavor all the way through from your research up to realization of the idea and then scaling it up. So for people in the audience who are proposing thoughts and ideas for applications or use cases of AI, please do remember this is a wonderful opportunity wherein you can actually integrate sustainability early on, because the moment it actually grows, it grows to be a menace, like the cat that the farmer brought home, right? So you have to ensure, remember the Kannada saying, "Gidavagi baggaddu maravagi baggite," unless you actually have to shape it when it is very young, you will never be able to really scale it beyond. So even in the corporate world, we employ some of these techniques before we really introduce sustainable technologies to the world. For example, at Yokoka, I can definitely talk about my company wherein we do stuff. We have defined what we call the triple goals: net zero carbon emission, powering a circular economy, and overall well-being as the key definitions. And we have told from our 110-year-old history as an organization or an enterprise, how every piece of technology that we actually create or deliver have to really fit into this theme. Second one, we try to talk about industrial autonomy powered by AI, wherein AI becomes your complement. AI is not human substitute, right? We have a very clearly defined AI policy in place, which is also something called responsible AI. From the power part of it or energy part of it, we also subscribe to what we call the true green objectives and the UN SDGs as well, right? So a lot of the corporate world is thinking about a holistic framework of growing and nourishing this environment and ecosystem around AI. So when many times it so happens when we talk to startup founders who come with brilliant ideas, but the idea fails to take off, they fail to understand why this happens. The reason is you have actually discounted a larger gamut of the thought process, mostly to do with the viability, the sustainability, and every other aspect, which ensures that the enterprise moves on, and then it is made to be reflected as the enterprise had a lot of money, a lot of access to capital, it was able to replicate and then or scale the success much faster. But the reality is, as founders of future companies, as people who are actually going to drive and thrive on the AI bandwagon, you need to be very clear and remember about what is the role that your technology is going to play for a larger good, right? While we are trying to talk about this, go back to the cat story. We spoke about the cat straying into someone else's house to really steal milk. So in digital parlance, it is about your AI stealing data from the other person, which is violation of data privacy, right? How do you really ensure that doesn't happen? When you are trying to propose your idea, when you are trying to really talk about AI, can you really make it in a way that it can get confined to a specific set of people? No, it's a global world. Every piece that you actually put in is actually going to have a global footprint now. So are you prepared to face and counter the regulatory pressures and friction that you are actually trying to see when you float an idea? That's where we call in the industry, idea is dozen a dime. You throw a cent, you can get 12 ideas, right? But the real idea that succeeds through innovation is something that passes through the entire set of filters that we are trying to talk along, right? So please apply this filter in your minds while writing your papers, while talking about ideas, right? And also trying to really build systems around them. So in principle, AI is going to be a driver, or it's already a driver of your future. There is no escape from it. But let us also remember the human element of social responsibility and the responsibility that we have to bear towards the resources of the earth. Going back to the definition of we realizing our objectives without harming the objectives of the future generation, right? So we always do remember the world is not a heirloom or a legacy that you have inherited from your ancestors, but a loan that you have actually secured from the future generations. And as long as that sense of responsibility plays in, you would be much clearer in the way you actually deploy AI, right? So our only request is for you guys to think about how, from a business standpoint, all this sustainability angle can be spoken in a language that the business understands, which is dollar, right? Talk about business models in terms of how we are able to scale sustainability using AI in a sense that it can mean dollars and cents, right? That's the only way to really scale it all up. And my parting question for you guys would be, while I'm sure you guys are not going to really bring home a cat that is actually going to be a menace, but ring fence it with the right ways, my parting question would be, should sustainability be a critical factor in the evaluation of startups and ideas? A lot of ideas that do come up, right? Should we consider that? Should that be part of your assessment? And what can the academia do in terms of shaping the bright minds out in this school? To answer that question, I'm sure a significant part of that answer would be coming in from this audience over here, collaborating with the rest of the world. But let's remember, AI can be a friend if we are able to integrate it very sustainably into our business. Thank you for being so much of a very patient audience, right? And for this wonderful opportunity to really talk to all of you, take home something, listening to the speakers who spoke before us, and also probably interacting with some of you. I would definitely look forward to listening to some of your ideas, either through conference papers or otherwise, working with your conference committee itself. So good luck. Next time when you try to really fill on or you feel a twitch to really use a ChatGPT, try to see whether you can actually use a common Google search, because Google search is expected to be 100 times less cheaper on the planet when compared to your ChatGPT or Gemini. And ensure that you are not just using it for primary entertainment, but for creating value out of it, because that is the way sustainability thoughts actually do come in. The last question, I would love to hear what could be the sustainability footprint of this conference itself, right? And how we can actually put a score on that particular number. That could itself be a research topic for you guys in future as conferences of this sort of actually do. Thank you so much. Looking forward for all the learning and interactions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that thought-provoking address. You truly left us with so much to think of, starting from how can we not just introduce the cat without being able to provide for the cat and bring in or usher in more problems with a temporary solution, and so many other things. That point was that we have loaned this world and everything that comes with it from the future generation to help us establish a sense of collective accountability. Thank you so much once again for that reminder. I would now request Dr. Madhavi ma'am, Associate Head, Faculty of Management Studies, to kindly felicitate our speaker, Mr. Naveen Kashyap.
Hello. Life of
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, it now gives me great pleasure to invite our next distinguished speaker for the keynote address. Dr. Ravindran Balakrishnan is a seasoned global finance leader with over 3 decades of experience spanning Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and North America. He currently serves as Regional Finance Director, West and Central Africa at Omnicom Media Group, where he provides strategic financial oversight across multiple business units. A CPA, FCCA, UK, FCMA, UK and India, CGMA, and FCA. Sir brings deep expertise in sustainability finance, ESG, strategic governance, and business transformation. As a CIMA Council member and recipient of the prestigious ACCA Centenary Award, he is widely recognized for advancing financially resilient, ethical, and sustainable business practices. His extensive experience in leading large-scale financial transformations, cross-border initiatives, and governance frameworks makes his insights particularly relevant to our conference theme of integrating industry, innovation, and resilience. Sir, though you are joining us online, your presence is deeply valued. We now invite Dr. Ravindran Balakrishnan to deliver his keynote address. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, let the camera be there. Let the camera be there.
Zoom.
That's it.
Okay. Can you hear me? I was muted. Do you hear me?
You are loud and clear, sir.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the warm introduction. Just a disclaimer, I'm not a doctor yet, so everything else that you said is fine, but not a doctor. Okay. So, distinguished Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, Chief Guest, esteemed dignitaries, faculty members, academicians, industry colleagues, research scholars, and the students who I think are poised to be the future leaders of the business. And everything that we discuss here or you're going to discuss in the next 2 days is going to give an immense outlook for you to shape up what's coming in future. Special thanks to Dr. Shakti and the organization committee for inviting me to deliver the keynote of this conference, which is International Conference for Sustainable Innovation in Business, Integrating Academia, Industry, and AI for Future Resilience. I just want to take a moment to recognize the speakers, right from Dr. Dinesh Nilkant, who talked about in the welcome address how societies are challenged and what's the responsibility. I think a lot of speakers before me have touched upon the key items. My summary is only to summarize what they have said and just share my thoughts and experience around this particular topic. He mentioned about ROI in education. I think it's important that education itself has undergone a much change, much as everything else, every sector that has changed in the last few years and continues to change every now and then. He quoted also Peter Drucker that the best way to predict is to create it, in future is to create it. Basically, that much is, I mean, this was said many years ago and it continues to resonate as to what is present day scenario. Dr. Shakti mentioned about the architects of future and sustainability is not a choice anymore. I think the emphasis is to ensure that how we can integrate the thing. And also the conference, has attracted like 300 registrations, which is very good from India and overseas. He mentioned some of the Africa, regions where I work I work in about 22 countries around Africa, so I can resonate that sustainability may not be, it may be a baby steps from a sustainability point in Africa, because there are still large parts of Africa which is struggling for basic things, like food, shelter, and clothing, like much other parts of the world which has developed. But they are also talking about sustainability, which is, I think, is a huge step, in the right directions. Yes, African economies are, in a turn of turmoil because of the heavy poverty they have and things. But the very fact that they are also talking about sustainability, much as other developing nations or underdeveloped nations, I think it's a credit to the leadership around and how it is shaping it. And India is central to that particular thing. I'll come to that in just a bit of that. Dr. Mishra spoke about the theme of integrated. I think what he liked, he talked about the integration between the two extremes, as he call it, where things have become easier on one side and on the other side fearful in terms of glacier melting. And we have seen that in the regions of Greenland and Iceland, and where climate change is a possibility. He mentioned Chennai. I come from Chennai, so I've lived that experience that he was talking about, and I can see how waters entered our homes, and it's a scary part of it, and we are helpless in a way. But how do we integrate? He talked about 3 Ps, just as how Mr. Naveen was talking about profit, planet, and people. I think we need to also mention about that. Then the journalist, Ms. Rai, talked about her experience or her, practicality in terms of what she brings around in terms of understanding about the sustainability. And she talked about the journalist being among accommodations, much as me as an industrialist among you as academicians. Dr. Mohammed, I think, talked about this in his plenary address, talked about creative disruption. I think it is, and he talked about the AI summit and that India had recently, rural livelihood, agriculture, healthcare, and governance. I think he talked about incubators and AI focused. He also talked about a very aptly, I think, how UAE is providing convenience around, the integrated approach. He mentioned about some of the vigilance areas around visa and hassle-free immigration, and about the entry and exit. And I will also mention this, in the last 30 years, I've been doing the international runs in terms of traveling. And quite recently, when I applied for India also has what is called as fast track immigration, which is the trusted travelers program. Wherein first time, I know when I exit, or rather when I entered into India, I was not stamped. And it is quite amazing because I think the adoption of technologies that we talk about, AI that we talked about outside, it's also in our doorstep. And credit to the adoption, the rate of adoption, because every time I used to travel with the passport, I used to carry another maybe 2-3 papers of waste papers because it used to smudge on the other side, and I used to lose pages, and I had to go for renewal. And sometimes when I'm abroad, you don't have enough time to renew your passport. You need to carry it. So those are all practical difficulties, but thank goodness now I don't have to do anymore. This thing adopts. I don't have to. There's a digital footprint. It also comes with another thing. It's got the digital footprint is there, but that's how the world is moving. Mr. Naveen talked about, he raised a lot of questions. It was very interactive. He talked about a story about how a farmer got a cat, and then he drew a parallel of AI. He spoke about Manav in AI adoption. I think that is a philosophy of India, where we say Vasudeva Kutumbam. I think it is a manner of how we are integrating the entire thing. We talked about the corporate as a holistic approach. In fact, in my company, which is Omnicom Media, what we do is basically we do communications, we do research, we do kind of advertising for the clients, working with the media owners. So we do also have sustainability as a core arrangement. Though in Africa, we have a lot of out-of-home boards. If you have noticed, I know in Bangalore or in elsewhere, where there are a lot of signboards that are available. I mean, these are in a way in the earlier space, these are destroyed or these are, kind of redone or, kind of repositioned. So what we have done is we have tried to recreate those boards again, with a small repair work and all that, so that we don't produce again. So how we can recycle them? I think that is the crux of the kind of movements that we have. It is important that we think about recycling on every little thing, much as what I think in the earlier days, maybe in the Stone Age, people used to do. So we are coming up a full circle. So what I will do is I'll just put this entire theme of integration into. I've split into 5 pillars. So pillar 1, I talk about sustainable business models and circular economy. I think Naveen also mentioned about circular economy. One of the major themes that is part of this conference is to explore, for you to explore in the next 2 days, is the development of sustainable business models. I think as commerce and management professionals, you know that the take, make, waste model is failing. You are here to analyze the business models that support circular economies and zero waste practices, directly addressing SDG 12. SDG 12 talks about responsible consumption and production. I think one of the speakers also talked about responsible consumption, which is very important. Sustainability is about inclusivity, which also models the support green entrepreneurship. I guess you must ask yourself, how can you build inclusive business models for underserved communities to reduce global inequalities? This is not just about moral imperative, it is a foundation of future market stability. Then pillar 2. Pillar 2 is about synergy of academia and industry. How can we have a blend? Because your role as academicians and maybe mentors and teachers in this ecosystem is vital. I think one of the core objectives is to evaluate the impact of academia industrial collaborations on achieving SDG targets. We often see that valley of death between maybe a brilliant research paper and a scalable industrial product. So how can we do a research paper that can be scalable? I think that, so integration is not just bringing AI sustainability and all that. It's also for the research paper that has been produced and how we can scale it at an industrial level so that we can have a combination that will work for it. For years, I think the people, or the public-private partnerships, which is a cornerstone for even for this conference strategy for achieving the SDG 17, for example, partnership for goals, serving as a bridge that connects high-level policy with industrial scale and academic rigor. I think these partnerships are designed to move beyond just the theoretical discussion and in-room discussion and achieve effective transformation through various mechanisms. One such is translating theory into practice, by bringing the policymakers, industry leaders, researchers and entrepreneurs. I think PPP can facilitate transition on a scalable implementation to the global economy. Then co-creation of technology. I think the primary objective of this partnership is to co-create sustainable technologies. This conference, in fact, highlights about the co-creation of sustainable technologies through university industry partnerships supporting SDG 17. Then we talked about knowledge and best practice exchange. I think what the internet has done or AI has done, it has compiled, everything that goes around elsewhere. It's also at your fingertips. So you do not have to reinvent the thing. I think that knowledge sharing and best practices can also be simulated and to create a dynamic forum in that direction. So what is already there, you're just trying to implement it to the, maybe consider it as, a global phenomenon with local implementation. So that will give you a perspective because there are local nuances that also has to be taken into consideration. So that knowledge transfer considers that a fuel for sustainable development, whether it is urban or rural kind of a thing. And then also it begins in the classrooms, of course, and the laboratories, but it translates into urban and rural, implementation. Then we talk about governance and financing. I think it is important that the policy framework is deepened in terms of sustainable for longer duration. I think like India, vision for 1947. I mean, those are 25 years. People who have lived and maybe continuing to deliver is having a longer perspective. These are not short term. The impact is also long term. The resolution also has to be long term. So, and the financing is a much impact. Everybody talks about AI sustainable. Look at the data centers that, in the summit they were talking about in Vishakhapatnam, for example. And when I was maybe watching a podcast on that, they were talking about billions and billions of water for cooling. So, and how much of energy extraction will come out of those data centers right at the doorstep? And people start even questioning that, do we need data centers here when, we are, for example, I come from Chennai, we are starved of water in peak summer, April to perhaps September is peak summer for us, and then water is a scarcity here. So how do we generate those things? So there are problems and solutions which has to be taken into consideration. Financing is a big chunk of it. How do you balance those financing, and impact investing is also important. Then pillar 3 is AI as a catalyst of change. I think some of the speakers talked about what is AI doing? Is AI only about technology, or is artificial intelligence only about technology? I think the crux is that it's a transformative element. How it drives maybe energy efficiency, food security, which is one of the aspects of this conference, and equitable distribution. I think those are the, where if I split into each individual, for example, energy and resource efficiency, how AI can revolutionize renewable energy adoption. So you have these imbalances of energy utilization and distribution. How it can balance the two, and that will, so the data will show you, or the analytics will show you where you need to do what. I think that is the crux of it, the A2 point. Food security, through the power of data analytics, I think also sustainable agriculture is also important, where food security is a critical step for SDG 2, for example, which talks about zero hunger. Then infrastructure and logistics. I think one of the sessions is also to investigate AI-driven supply chain optimization. Supply chain has become very important. For example, in my study days, we used to always talk about JIT, as in from a Japanese school of thought, whereas just-in-time technology. But now we have gone beyond that. I mean, of course, JIT is also an important contribution towards supply chain or manufacturing supply chain. But AI supply chain is also supply chain optimization, and how smart infrastructure that is built around with IoTs to bring, about technology transformation and resilient communities, to which mandates what we call as an SDG 9, which talks about industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Then the pillar is on ethical governance. I think we talk about SDG 16, which peace, justice, and strong institutions. Ethical AI is about robust regulatory frameworks. I think from where I work from, there are a lot of ethical institute in terms of governance itself, leave alone the AI part of it. I think AI part of it is just added that much more complex into what is ethical, I won't name the digital, medium of advertising. They are present in throughout the globe, but do they have local presence in terms of local contribution from local sustainability and tax? Probably no, right? So how do we work in that space in terms of, so a lot of talk about ethical governance, ESG, for example, is becoming an important aspect. And I will tell you this from my experience. I come from finance background, so if 25 years ago, if people talked about, all that they talked about is maybe 2% as a corporate social responsibility, right? CSR. That is what we used to go into the audit report. But if you see the current audit report, which is not an audit report anymore, we call it as integrated reports. You're all, commerce and management professionals. Sometime you'll get, used to these terminologies of integrated reporting. Today's, if you take any report, any statutory report of any multinational or any organizations which is listed, you'll find that less than 30% is financials. It is the regular profit and loss account, balance sheet, cash flows, and the like. But 70% is non-financials, which includes sustainability, ESG, value creation, and the rest of it. Why? Because I think the shareholders or the stakeholders are interested into what is the future of the company in terms of value creation. Not just, yes, the demands of shareholder return is paramount, but I think it's more than paramount for an investor who is long term, and much of the investors are also long term in nature. They see about value creation because that is where the strength of the companies lies. A short-sighted companies, I think one of the speakers talked about or mentioned about Lehman Brothers. You can see how value can be eroded within a day or in no time. So these are the prospects. A continuous business who are really investing into these kinds of things right from day one. I think they are more sustainable in nature, both not only in terms of the appearance, but also in terms of what they deliver and for themselves as well in terms of value creation. So when they create more value, they throw more value in those, attitudes or aspirations, which will only help them in long term. So that brings to the next pillar, which is the social resilience. I think innovation, we cannot thrive in a vacuum. It's about the corporate policy, governance, and green finance. I think I mentioned about sustainability reporting. I think IFRS S1 and S2, they have been introduced in integrated reporting as part of the financial reporting exercise, where we talk about general awareness and what policies or procedures the companies have done in terms of climate-related disclosures. So it's important for companies to know that what they call as greenhouse gas, GHG emissions, and there are some very laid out process. These things are still some of this are still in motion. Not every company, every country has really taken into, but I think United Nations has come forward in terms of the sustainability development goals to ensure that everything is integrated in terms of reporting, in terms of appearance, in terms of longevity, in terms of climate resilience. So everything adds up. People are trying to, realize that we cannot live it. What will happen after 50 years is for anybody to guess. But if you sow the seeds now and then ensure that we are taking care of that, probably we can anticipate that, we can deal with new problems, but we have an existing problem that we need to deal with. In conclusion, I think what I will say is the International Conference on Sustainable Innovation in Business is most just a gathering. So it's a commitment to well-being and environmental stewardship through interdisciplinary discussions, workshops, and partnership. I think it will empower you to thrive sustainability and also ponder. I think Ms. Ray was talking about how do we ponder? I think that those are the questions that you may need to raise it, and then through interactions and dynamic forum, I think you can co-create those knowledge. I believe those research papers that you might have, likely to discuss, they're more pressing issues. And how do we take out those things and integrate into something that we can scale it up, and just not leave those as research papers, but something that we can do tangible kind of, working atmosphere. So I once again thank Dr. Shakti and the organizing committee for inviting me for this keynote. And I wish you all the best for your discussions and forums. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that thought-provoking address and those pillars you listed out for us. We will keep them in mind and work accordingly. With that, we have officially come to the end of day one's inaugural session. We invite you to join all of us for lunch on SH6, post which you are requested to report to your respective rooms for your track presentations beginning at 1:15. Thank you so much for joining us once again, and I hope you have a lovely day ahead.